Good morning, Pirates, and thank you for joining us. Your ASB has partnered with DNN to bring you this special presentation to celebrate Veterans Day. Celebrated on November 11th every year, Veterans Day is our chance to honor those men and women who have served in the armed forces. The freedoms we enjoy in America today have come from the sacrifices made by so many brave individuals who have put their country first and put on a uniform to serve. As a very small token of our gratitude, we have put together a program for you that explores the history of Veterans Day. We would like to introduce to you to some of our very own Davis staff members who have served or have family members that served, and gives you some information about ways you can give back to the veterans in our community. Please join us in thanking our veterans. Enjoy the program. Thank you.
Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Hello everyone, we're here with Mr. Hull from the Davis Social Studies Department. Thanks for being with us, Mr. Hull. Can you tell us a little bit about Veterans Day?
Yeah, thanks for having me this morning, Theron. So Veterans Day really began in the wake of World War I after this tragedy that affected the entire planet. And the nations that had been involved in the war were forced to decide how best to grapple with the legacy of the war. And they decided to set aside a day by which to commemorate the lives lost in the war. And that day that was selected was November 11th, which was the anniversary of the signing of the armistice, which ended World War I. So Veterans Day really commemorates the lives lost in World War I, and it started off being known as Armistice Day. In the wake of World War I, it was a chance for families and loved ones to commemorate the lives lost in that war. In the 1920s, Congress actually made what was known then as Armistice Day a federal holiday and turned it into Veterans Day. And then in the wake of World War II, following another global conflict, the holiday expanded out to include all those lives lost in conflict that the United States had been involved in.
Thank you. Is America the only country that celebrates Veterans Day?
Yeah, so I like that you asked that question. That's an interesting one because we oftentimes get the impression that our nation stands alone in that regard, and we don't. Many other nations around the world celebrate a Veterans Day or an opportunity to commemorate and remember the lives lost in World War I. Other nations such as Canada, Britain, the British Commonwealth countries, South Korea, and even Poland remember in some way the lives that were lost during the First World War. Different nations around the world recognize Veterans Day and commemorate it in different ways. In Canada, for example, at 11 o'clock on November 11th of each year, all of the trains stop around the country and blow their whistles as a commemoration or a recognition of the sacrifice of Canadians to the battle, or to the war. And so different nations respond differently to the holiday.
Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Hull.
Thanks for having me.
Soldier from the War's Returning by A.E. Housman. Soldier from the War's Returning, spoiler of the taken town. Here is the ease that asks not earning, turn you in and sit you down. Peace is come and war is over, welcome you and welcome all, while the charger crops the clover and his bridle hangs in stall. Now no more of winter's biting, filth and trench from fall to spring, summer's full of sweat and fighting, for the Kesser or the king. Rest you charger, rest you bridle, kings and Kessers keep your pay, soldier, sit you down and idle, at night and in of night for a.
Hello everyone, we're here with Mr. Quincy, one of our Davis staff members who served in the military. Thank you for being here, Mr. Quincy. Can you tell us what branch you served in and how long you served?
I was in the Army, and I served for a total of 7 years.
What areas or specialties did you participate in during your time in the Army?
In the Army, all military has, the jobs are called MOSs, the occupation, and I was in 11 Mike, call it, which is in mechanized infantry, which includes Humvees, tanks, Bradley fighting vehicles. And that's what I was mostly with, is Bradleys.
Where did the Army take you? What were some interesting places that you thought?
Well, I enlisted in Spokane, and then I served boot camp in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. I then served, my infantry school was in Fort Benning, Georgia, ended up in Fort Lewis in Seattle area, Tacoma area, and did some trainings throughout the country, but I never left the United States.
How did serving in the Army impact your character as a person?
I was a good student in high school, but I wasn't very organized, and so the military helped you, whether you're willing or not, to get you organized. So still today, my closet's very organized, my garage life is pretty organized. It helped me tremendously in just the attention to details.
What were some of the biggest lessons you learned in the Army that helped you in the real world?
Working on teams of people who are committed to common causes. So often when young people, you get good at what you want to do in life, but you sometimes become focused where relationships don't seem to last as long until you reach 25 or 30 years old. So it taught me to have a close-knit group of friends you could depend on.
What was your motivation or influence to serve?
I have a strong military family. My dad, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins. A lot of people served in my family. The main was education, because my family did not have the financial means to send me to college, so I had a lot of student loans. So after about halfway through college, I decided to leave college to have my student loans paid off through the Army. And they also, when I got out of the Army, came back and finished college. They paid for all the future school as well.
What would be some advice you would give to someone thinking about joining the armed forces?
Consider all the jobs available. I'd like to tell people the military is like its own city. You have everywhere from mechanics to transportation to people who manage the books and accountants, and there's so many jobs in the military besides what we normally think of as combat and people doing things with guns and weapons.
Do you have any funny stories from boot camp?
Everybody at boot camp in the Army at least has to go through the gas chamber. And the gas chamber is a day you all don't look forward to, but they tell you ahead of time to rub it in, I think. The day of the gas chamber, my weapon was malfunctioning, so I couldn't get to work, so they took me to the armory. And I was in the armory for about 2 hours, and I didn't know they went to the gas chamber while I was gone. So that I joined up later, and no one else knew I wasn't there except the drill sergeants, and so then I just faked it after that. So when you come out of the gas chamber for hours, you just leak out of your face, your nose, your eyes, and you're drooling all over your face, and I just faked it, and I didn't tell anyone. It was, an internal joke for myself. I didn't have to do that, thank goodness.
Do you have any funny stories from being in service?
My occupation was pretty serious, and so it wasn't. There were a lot of weapon systems, things like that can kill you. That's what they're intended to do. So during service, just good friendships, good relationships, meeting people from around the country, but not a lot of funny, just because of my MOS was such a serious nature that it wasn't inclined to having a lot of joking around.
Yeah, for sure. As a veteran, what are ways that you feel people, specifically high school students, can show their respect or gratitude towards people that have served?
I think just valuing the country you live in, no matter where that is. I've been in other countries before, and if there's pride or nationality events going on, I always respect that. Even if I don't know, I go to hockey games, a lot of times they'll play the Canadian national anthem. I don't know the words to it, but I respect it by either standing or being quiet at least. I think honoring how good we have it. So much of the world does not have the abilities, and freedom's an overused word. It doesn't have the abilities to just, you decide what you want to do for your life. You don't decide if you want to go be a mechanic, or you want to be a teacher, or you want to be a pilot. And just understanding how lucky we are in the United States.
Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Quincy, and thank you for your service.
Armistice by Sophie Jewett. The water sings along our keel as the wind falls onto a whispering breath. I look into your eyes and feel no fear of life or death. Yet love is so near, though so far. There goes the losing strife of yesterday. For when we watch the swallow skim and dip, a portion of magic bids the world motionless. Life stands with our lip in between, with our finger. Love hath his gentle determination. Though hearts have bled and tears have dried, the river floweth unconcerned. We pray the fickle flag of truce, and still float fair and deceitfully. This hour we will not bother, though just beyond tomorrow's doors, arrayed and strong, the battle wait.
We observe today the celebration of freedom.
The day America sets aside to honor millions of our finest heroes. They are the men and women who defend our country and preserve our peace and freedom. Each time our nation has called upon our citizens to serve, the best have come forward. Where do we get such brave young Americans? We can and should take the opportunity on this Veterans Day to remember their gift to us. Veterans know better than anyone else the price of freedom, where they've suffered the scars of war. All those who have served in America's uniform deserve the nation's thanks. Words could never express what the patriotism of generation after generation of American heroes means for the very soul of our nation. Because of you, America's best days are still to come. And with faith, freedom, and courage, there's no limit to what America can and will accomplish.
The graves of young Americans who answered the call to service surround the globe. They call to bear the burden, a struggle against the common enemies of man. United, there is little we cannot do. Let every nation know, whether it wishes us well or ill, that we shall pay any price, bear any burden, meet any hardship, support any friend, oppose any foe, to assure the survival and the success of liberty.
Then their sacrifices will not be in vain. This is our obligation, and this has been the spirit of Veterans Day from the beginning.
Hi guys, we're here with Jackie today. She's the director of the VET organization. Can you tell us more about what you do?
Sure thing. So I'm the director at the VET Center here in Yakima. The VET Center supports veterans with readjustment counseling. So we serve veterans who are combat veterans, survivors of military sexual trauma, drone operators, and just recently, veterans who are utilizing the GI Bill to further their education. So we provide therapeutic resources to help with any mental health symptoms or problems. So that's what we do here.
And what do you guys do for the veterans in the community?
So specifically, we focus on counseling, but also we have a front desk that has a lot of different resources. So veterans can come in with questions about where to go for food resources, where to go to get funding for maybe they haven't been able to pay their light bill or electricity, things like that. So we do offer and point veterans in the right direction with resources, but we specifically provide counseling services.
And what's the difference between the VET Center and the VA?
Okay, so the VET Center is actually a branch of the bigger VA system. So we have the VA health system, which provides healthcare for veterans who are qualifying. And so they do all sorts of medical things. And our portion of it is mental health care. So we receive funding from the VA, we're under the VA umbrella, but our wheelhouse is readjustment counseling.
And what can students do to be more involved in the VET Center?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we can provide direction for students to either do events here. We often have events for veterans, like we had a car show that where about 70 veterans came and ate and things like that, kind of celebrate them. We also have events throughout the year. We have a food pantry. We also we do things like that, and then also we have resources of different community partners that we could point people in that direction if they want to serve specific needs.
Well, thank you for your time. It was really nice
Of course, nice to meet you.
And that concludes our program for today. Thank you, Pirates. Have a wonderful day.